One of my favorite things about music is music videos.
Yes.
So I think that kind of gives you kind of more of a peek into the artist's psyche. This documentary was cool because not only did you get a concert performance by Beyoncé, you got to see her process. You got to see what her mindset is as a person. You got to see her mindset and see how that was translating to a visual experience on stage.
Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to our weekend show of Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we'll be discussing Renaissance, a film by Beyoncé.
And we also have some sizable Hollywood news, Rebecca.
Houston, we have a ratified contract.
Awesome. Let's get started.
Beyoncé Knowles is ready to be on tour again with her vision of the album Renaissance. With the intent of showcasing the complete picture of who she is, Beyoncé wants to bring the audience along for an audio odyssey, but also let them into her private world as well.
Rebecca, you're really excited about this movie, and once we saw it, you couldn't stop talking about the production of this movie.
One of the things I love about Beyoncé, and this goes back to my first experience with her album Me-Day, she never fails to envelop the audience with the visual side of things. I love movies, I love music, so it's a natural leap for me to want to see these things.
And you were disappointed, not disappointed?
I was so happy.
Oh, yay.
I'm not a huge Beyhiver, if you will. But I do appreciate the craft that she puts into her visuals and her style. It really allows me to see a complete picture as an artist. One of my favorite things about music is music videos.
Yes.
So I think that kind of gives you kind of more of a peek into the artist's psyche. This documentary was cool because not only did you get a concert performance by Beyoncé, you got to see her process. You got to see what her mindset is as a person. You got to see her mindset and see how that was translating to a visual experience on stage.
It was amazing to me. And as you said, you've known Beyoncé music for
2006.
2006, back in the day. I remember little of her music. I know. What planet did I come from? I know. I understand. She's everywhere, 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 even before this experience. But I remember her a little bit with Destiny's Child. Obviously, beautiful voice, beautiful woman. I mean, just amazing. And when this movie came out, I was excited to see it because I know we had seen the Taylor Swift movie, and that was just a really great snapshot into everything. And I say everything, air quotes, right? But a lot of her music through the era, no pun intended on that one either. Boy, I'm digging a hole on this one.
Man, you're on fire tonight.
But it was funny. And I don't want to compare the two women, although the fact that both of them have had these incredible concert experiences. And I was just amazed. Her set list, I mean, over 30 songs, plus the documentary, her daughter, or, Diana Ross, her other two kids, her husband. And like you said, it talked about her process. And honestly, I think I know more about her process than I do who she is as an artist before this. Just understanding, she's graced, magazine covers. She's very glamorous, very stylized. And then to put that with this movie, it really was a documentary. And it really surprised me how much of a documentary it was because, like you said, it went into the process. It went into her influences, who she's so thankful for. And just her gratitude was very moving to me.
I thought it was really sweet considering the last visual experience that I sat down with Beyoncé. I purposefully avoided the Renaissance album for a bit, as much as I could, because I knew that this movie was going to come out. I honestly wanted that to be my first experience with this album. I didn't want the tangibility of the studio recordings to affect how I was going to see the performance. So definitely some songs snuck in, I will confess, but I did, as best I could, I did have some friends who go, you have to listen to this track.
I'm just laughing. Spotify failed you. And you're like, no, Spotify did good. But my friends, well, yeah, not so much on that.
I love my friends. They share what joy they can in this world. It's a good thing to have.
In the music, it's interesting because it's funny because this concert was phenomenal. And we can talk a bit about that. But it was funny. At one point, I was sitting there and I'm thinking, how would this music play in the studio without all the flash, without the show? And obviously the show is a big part of this, but just to go, how does she sound? Her voice, what is she singing about? What does she want you to hear? And I thought, even if I had not seen this concert, I would enjoy her music outside of this total experience. And I thought, wow, that's pretty good. So it wasn't the concert experience took over the music. It was just, as we said, it was a different experience. We saw it in Dolby Cinema.
I believe that's the best way to see this.
I would agree with that. I know we saw Taylor Swift in IMAX, clearly a different experience. But with Beyonce, it was incredible. It felt like a concert. It really did. The seats are vibrating, just the sound enveloping. There was a woman next to me, not part of our Cocoon Cast team. She was just bopping along. I mean, and obviously, right, you see the audience and they're doing the same. She's doing the same moves. She's wearing something silver and flashy. She was having a blast. It was a concert experience.
One of the keywords I want to use when Beyonce puts on a production is lavish.
Ah, that's a good word.
Her homecoming film was lavish. This takes it up a notch, which I was so delighted to see.
Oh, that's great. Because you think about everyone who loves her will love this movie, without doubt. And obviously, it sounds like, oh, well, that's a generalization. Would you agree with that, though? I'm thinking, gosh,
you're getting the
Beyonce
experience.
It was, what, almost 3 hours?
I was hooked the whole time. I know you tried nudging me, and I was just like,
No. Stay focused. But there was so much to see.
And she made sure to show us that it's not just the Beyonce show, it's the Beyonce and production show. She purposely talks about in the film that she wants people to notice certain aspects that may otherwise be ignored by other filmmakers in this genre.
And I appreciated that. She had talked about the set design, how they created the different stadium experiences. And at one point she had said, these people are risking their life for, setting up the roof. They were talking about the open air stadiums. And it was just, and here's my background, people, and here's this, and here's this person, and my influence here, and da-da-da-da. It was this total experience, and her costuming choices were incredible. And I laugh because there was a part, and I don't think it's spoiling to talk about the costuming.
No, if I remember this correctly, Beyonce released a video talking about some of the costume changes and showcasing what fans had to look forward to.
Man, I am so behind it, I must say. But like you said, I'm hooked the whole time. And I laugh because it wasn't me going, because I was bored. It was like, look at this. Oh. And I laughed because there was a part where she had one costuming during, a song. And this happened multiple songs, so I'm not isolating one song, but multiple songs. And she didn't skip a beat, and it would just be blip. And then she's in red, and then she's in blue, and then she's in green, and then she's in a tie-dye, and then she's in sequin. And it was funny because I know one member of our team said, wow, it was a lot to just switch. But she didn't miss a beat. It looked so fluid to me.
Props to her editor. That takes work.
Kidding. That's her box. Her box is phenomenal. I'm like, wow. I actually really liked it because it wasn't that I went to one concert and I saw one outfit or two outfits. I saw what? Oh my goodness, I can't even keep track. Double digits?
My guess would be upwards of 25. That would be my guess off the top of my head.
Well, each song, for the most part, had 2 or 3 or 4 changes. And to me, it wasn't distracting at all. It was like, wow, this was good. I know the other part we talked about was the diversity of the music and the audience.
The box brought this up to our attention. He goes, have you noticed that even though everybody's different, they feel unified. They feel cohesive.
They felt very cohesive.
This is a great snapshot into Beyonce's ethos.
Yes.
And she talks about this in the film. So it's not like, oh, here's a happy accident. It's no, every choice is purposefully magnified. And it's really cool because I know different people can take away different things from this, even if you're not a Beyonce fan.
I would agree with that. And I know, obviously, before that, I wouldn't classify myself as such because I'm ignorant. Come on. I'm like, middle-aged going, oh, wow, look who she is. I acknowledge that. But I agree. The unifying piece, there was one point in the songs, I'm still learning the songs. But there was one song where she was on stage just kind of sliding back and they would show the audience and the audience was doing it right along with her. So they were unified together, but also with her. Queen Bey piece, I laughed because she really was facilitating this experience that people were having.
But it was also a give and take as well.
Ah, that's a good point.
There's points in the movie/show where she points out people in the audience and mirrors them. It's kind of cool, and it's a way to say, I see you.
And she was looking at people. It wasn't like, I love all 70,000 of you. She literally was looking at individual people, making eye contact, having an experience with individual people. To me, that says something. I don't know about you, but if I were in an audience of 70,000 people, well, first I'd probably be on the floor and be like, oh, well, that wasn't good. 70,000 people is an awful lot. But I think she was able to harness that and really, it changed her. Because at one point, she would tear up and she would, have this emotion. So it wasn't, she was looking over people's head, which is the thought that I would have. If 70,000 people look over their heads, don't make eye contact or you'll collapse because there's so many of them. And yet she did.
Collapse?
Connect with. No. Okay. Thankfully, she did not. In the choreography, she's dancing. Her team is dancing. I mean, it was high energy the whole time.
I miss fun concerts, and this kind of reminded me of what it's like to be at a fun concert.
And and this was written, the Renaissance album was written during COVID. Dark time for the world, clearly. But the joy that was coming out of that, the energy that was coming out of that, I really appreciated that. Like we were saying, it was a real unified effort. It wasn't just her dancing. It was her team dancing. I know I'm a sucker for set design, especially when it comes to movies and things. There was obviously a constant changing of set design. What did you notice, Rebecca?
One of the things I was really happy to see was it felt like a complete concert experience, partially because Beyonce is not just training the camera on the stage, but you're also seeing the visuals rather crisply displayed to the cinema audience. So you can get the complete experience. The set design, I was really happy to see it was minimal, but it still took recognizable images such as the silver horse, the tank, from Beyonce's visual filmography and translating it to an audience.
And I laughed. The tank moved and the horse, and she moved with the horse. At one point, you're talking about the set design. It was toward the end, she was elevated. And I thought it was really great that it wasn't you were seeing it from the audience perspective, you were seeing it from her perspective. And as you said, it was very minimal, but it was very powerful because you could see the lights and everything that was happening. I really appreciated that.
I know you were a huge fan of when we saw Stop Making Sense of the minimal set design. I think this is kind of close to that, but the visual background allows the landscape to form in the minds of the viewer.
You had made a really great point about that too, saying her music facilitates the production value, the set design, the costuming, and I agree with that. I can't imagine David Byrne on a silver horse running around in sequins and dancing and having a whole team. The music doesn't lend itself to that. However, I do think clearly concerts have changed considerably, even in some of the most lavish concerts that I've gone to. This would have been no comparison to the ones that we've gone to even more recently. Do we have any questions from the box?
You've commented that the movie is both a documentary and a concert. Do you think the balance was good? Did you want to see more documentary? Did you want to see more concert? Comment on the mix.
I like the 60-40 balance. Personally, for me, I like seeing a little bit more documentary, but for what I got my money's worth and then some. It was kind of cool.
I would agree with that. Personally, I think for me, because I know less about her, the documentary part, it's kind of a cheat. It's, oh, tell me more about you because I don't know about you. I would be curious if our cinema community would comment below knowing Beyonce. I'm sure they know more than I do. I'd be curious to hear what their thought would be knowing about her. Do they want more documentary? Do they want more music? Or how did they feel the split went?
I would be curious to see their answer as well, considering that she has done something similar in past with Homecoming.
Do we have any other questions from the box?
Clearly, Beyonce is at the top of her game and has a reputation of being a bit of a perfectionist. I remember there was one scene in the documentary portion of the film where she was concentrating on the lighting, and her points were very valid, but you could see she was very particular on how the lighting was going to react and where it was going to shoot. When they showed her personal life, did any details stand out from that portion of the documentary that you didn't know about?
I thought her discussion of time in relation to her work was really striking to me. Not only is she talking about her time here, she's also talking about how her music communicates time. And I think that's something that a lot of artists don't take the time to consider when it comes to their compositions.
I think,
especially in her space as well.
I would think that's true. What stood out for me, I agree with the box when she was talking about the lighting and they were showing multiple sketches and how specific she was. And I view myself as a perfectionist as well. And so clearly I'm like, oh, I appreciate that. But she didn't seem ridiculous about it. It seemed as if it was, look, I want to do this for me because this is in my mind and I want it to be this great experience. But it was to facilitate a great experience for others. It felt very others focused. But I know you and I on the way to the studio had talked about she's just this phenomenal performer, and it's, she's glammed up. She's just, singing her heart out, dancing her heart out. And then it would flip to a portion of her with minimal makeup, no makeup, hugging her kids, hanging out with her husband, doing rehearsals. And that part I so respected because as a perfectionist, it would be so easy to say, this is my public image and my private image. I'm going to push that to the side because that doesn't necessarily demonstrate perfection.
Well, it's the vulnerability. I know you always love it when people are not afraid to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And they don't need to be.
No, and I just appreciated that because she could just ride on this whole image or the perception that people have of her, the professional perception. So to me, that was counter to the perfectionist piece. But the personable and, like you said, the vulnerability increased my respect for everything that she does personally and professionally. Rebecca, it is that time of the show where we talk about 1 to 5 Moth ratings. What would you give Beyonce's Renaissance film?
This is a 4 Moth movie for me.
Wow. Number 1 reason for number 4.
This is really close to what I love in concert films. I want to see a concert. I want to see the artist. I want to see the process behind everything.
That is very much you, actually. And you have some experience with the production and the set and the sound. And all right, that totally makes sense.
I would have loved to seen more of the creative process building up to the album, but they did a pretty good job of inserting us into where Beyonce's mindset was for the greater whole.
All right. 5 Moths have come back to see me. They are singing. They are dancing.
Social Moths.
Social Moths. I would say this is a 4 Moth movie for me. I would say it had so many wonderful elements to it. The documentary piece. I agree with your statement around I would have loved to have seen more of her thought process. To me, it was fascinating as she was talking about the costuming. She was talking about the lights. I could have listened to that longer.
I would love a mini series, like just each facet of this tour.
Well, and she's brilliant in what she does. And you do want to hear what's in the mind of Beyonce, not just hear the end product. I think what's keeping it from a 5 Moth for me is people love her, and understandably so. Clearly, I get that. I think some of the songs do not appeal to necessarily everyone, and what that means to me is some of the younger crowd that loves her, looks up to her. There may be some of the themes, some of the language in the themes, the way it's communicated, may be too mature for them. And I think that's unfortunate because clearly she's incredibly talented. She put so much into the show. And that may be my perception. Other people may not have that same perception. But for me, it's just like, it's just what keeps it from being a 5. That being said, I think it's a very solid movie.
If you enjoyed our review on Renaissance, a Beyoncé film, please like, which helps more viewers find our cinema community. And subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming reviews. And please share with your friends.
Rebecca, it is that time of the show to talk about who we are not sponsored by.
Who are we not sponsored by? I say that with the biggest disappointment.
Yeah, as you smile, the greatest disappointment. We are not sponsored by Burt's Bees.
Ooh, okay. And help me understand. Why are we picking Burt's Bees today?
Well, we were approaching Burt's Bees because, Beyonce, Beyhive. Hey, there are people. They bees are in their name.
There we go.
Granted, Burt's not Beyonce. He's no Beyonce, trust me. But I figured, what compassion? They would understand. They like bees. Beyonce, Beyhive.
Okay.
Something
I
close,
see where
right?
you're going with this. Okay.
All right. But I figured I should learn a little bit about Burt's Bees.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, before you approach somebody, you should probably know who they are exactly. So Burt Chavez and Roxanne Quimby.
Not to be confused with Ramona Quimby, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not the girl in Beverly Cleary's books. No, different one. Actually, that'd be kind of interesting if it was her. They have the most interesting fate-driven story.
Oh, is this a bee rom-com?
It's a weird little story. All right, Burt's driving around in his little yellow school bus pickup.
Oh, great. He's got a bee mobile.
He does. And he's driving around. Bum, 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 bum. And guess who's over there hitching? Looking for a ride in the middle of Maine.
Maine? I thought you were going to say Oregon. Like
No.
Portland, Oregon, not Portland, Maine.
Well, then we'd be back to Beverly Cleary again.
Oh,
and then
okay,
the
there.
whole, Ramona Quimby thing.
All right.
Yeah, all right. Okay, we're on the other side of the country. We're in Maine. She's hitching a ride. She was an artist in San Francisco. And I guess Burt blew off Manhattan. He used to be a photojournalist. He wanted some peace and quiet. He's going into the Maine wilderness. She's in the Maine wilderness. She's hitching, and guess what he does?
Oh, man, this sounds like a Stephen King novel. They're in Maine, and she's hitching a ride. What happens?
Oh, that's true, right? He picks her up, and they hit it off.
Wow.
Worlds collide. It was hilarious because before he met Ramona, or you've got me doing it, before he met Roxanne.
Just sing the song.
Roxanne.
Roxanne.
Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light.
Right. You don't have to put the bees out, Roxanne. Okay, Roxanne. After they hit it off, he's out there before. He was selling candles.
Okay.
With the bees. And so there's beeswax. And Roxanne decides to apprentice under Burt, the bee meister.
The bee meister.
The bee meister. He was selling honey roadside. So obviously, right, he had the beeswax and everything. She finds this book of recipes, and they never say which the book is.
Trade secret.
I was laughing. Apparently they didn't write. They found it. But then she starts taking the beeswax and crafts them into candles. This is like 1984. And lip balm.
Ah, we use the lip balm.
We use the lip balm. 1991 for that.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot later than I thought it was going to be. I thought that was going to be kind of more of a mid-'80s thing.
It's kind of a weird thing because I remember back when they were small and now they're just like everywhere. And I was reading a little bit more about because they're not sponsoring. So, right, I have to learn more about them from other sources, not the bees, right? And not Beyonce because those Beyhive gals, they haven't shared that with me.
Talking bees scared me.
Talking bees, exactly. It was hilarious because they're saying that the lip balm that you and I have used, we have friends of ours that use. Yeah, they're saying that every second in 2018, a tube of lip balm was sold. Every second.
That's some pretty astronomical numbers.
It's crazy.
How do they track that?
Well, they probably look at how many they've sold and then they divide it by
Okay,
minutes.
fine,
I'm laughing, not even by days, minutes, hours, seconds. God. So by the time we're done with this, whole pile of lip balm would be sitting in front of us.
I really wish they would have sponsored us just for the product visual.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired of buying my lip balm and and I'm thinking the Beyhive fans, they'd be buying it. Bees, it's in the name. Do you think they're going to buy it? No.
They're not sponsoring us.
They're not. And yet they make face products, toothpaste, shampoo, infant products. They even do makeup.
I remember that because you got the lipstick for me at some point.
Yes. They make makeup. However, at the end of the day, guess what?
Still not sponsoring us.
Still not sponsoring us.
I guess they told us to buzz off, didn't they?
They did.
It's that time of the show where we want to hear from you. We'd love to see you standing outside your local theater with your cinema community. Please send your photo to hello@cocooncast.com. Be sure to tell us who you are and what movie you're going to see so you can show our community your cinema spirit. Now let's talk about some of the cool comments we've been getting, Teresa.
First up, we have 091 Suli commented on our review of Saltburn. Here's what they said. Movie lacked something. Compared to Parasite, for example, it lacked development of character and relationships.
I think the thing with Saltburn is you're working with a bigger cast to begin with. There's also a very clear divide between the two stories that are going to be told when you watch Saltburn. So I think that contributed to it as well. Saltburn focuses primarily on 3 characters, and you use those characters as vantage points, whereas Parasite, you're starting to see the vantage point filtered through all of the characters.
It was interesting. However, I did see some comments regarding Saltburn, and Parasite was brought into the discussion a few times from several different people in our cinema community, as well as the talented Mr. Ripley.
I love that movie. It's so good.
Yeah. I laugh, though, because I did see that a few of those comments. So Parasite is making the round. So maybe at a later date, we actually get to review that because we have seen that movie.
I remember we saw that in initial release. That was a great movie, and I'm so happy it brought the acclaim it did to the Korean film industry.
Oh, absolutely. And well awarded. And I'm laughing. We'll review that and people, it feels like Saltburn.
That would be interesting to see, like 20 years from now, see how these movies are viewed as artistic creations together and also separate from one another.
Agreed. Thank you very much for your comment.
Next up, we have Alex Lifeson, 8946, commenting on our short for The Boy and the Heron. Here's what they had to say. Haven't been a good movie out since Dune. Well, I'm biased. I love both versions of Dune, and I love the book series. I would encourage you to take a chance. Dune's awesome, and we're waiting for the next one, which is coming up sooner than you think. But hey, you never know. You might find something else. Take a shot. I
know you're waiting for
Dune. Lives.
Exactly. This is a person after your own heart. I love it. Finally, Michael Babcott 6997 commented on our review of Godzilla -1 short. Here's what he had to say. Big lizard blew up things. 8 out of 10. More blow up things. That's about right, actually. That would have saved the review. We could have just said, "Yep, that's it. That's what it is."
Lizards blow up stuff. Stuff happens. Chaos ensues.
Chaos.
Your favorite phrase outside of the show.
I agree. It is chaos ensues. I really loved that movie, though.
You love chaos.
But it did ensue, you realize.
If we ever get the chance to make merch, I say that has to be on one of our shirts.
I realize what I say the most is chaos ensues. That's a great point, and I laughed.
Yeah. We should put that in subtitles.
Yeah, 5 shirts. We're ready for them. Right now, here we go. Merch goes.
We'd also like to take the time to thank our cinema community at large. We noticed today when we started taping that we have 321 subscribers. That's so awesome. We also want to take the time to thank those of you who have chosen to comment on our videos as well as watch our videos. We can't do this without you.
Agreed. Our cinema community is growing. And as Rebecca said, we appreciate that. We love movies. We want to bring you along with us. If you haven't subscribed, we definitely encourage you to subscribe. And of course, if you have not commented as of yet, please pick a movie that you love. Comment below. We may use your comment in our next show.
I love how you said comment below on a movie you love. There's nothing that gets me more instantly fired up than seeing a comment that somebody's excited about a movie or they're going to see a movie. It just gives me some fuel in the tank to go, even when I'm tired, I'm just like, that person is sharing their joy with us. And I want to take that joy and just magnify it. It's just so exciting.
And now it's time for some Hollywood news.
The contract has been signed. We are free.
Oh my. And that took how long?
Over 100 days.
No, it was like, what? Yes, it was crazy. And who is reporting this at this
Jean
point?
Maddow from Variety brings us this glorious news.
Wow, you've got singing and dancing.
It's a singing, dancing kind of day. I got to tell you.
It is so great. It's approved. And what percentages did they end up with?
This was interesting to me. The contract is approved at 78%. Yay! But this is the weird part for me. And I'm saying this just for me.
Okay.
38% people actually sat down to vote for this thing.
Wow.
That feels low to me. But supposedly this was higher than their last contract ratification, according to Gene.
I think there's always truth that I don't know what their average is, but I think that's true of most contracts. It's not 100%, which I don't think you were thinking that, but
No, I was like thinking high 80s.
wow. All right. I would definitely think higher than 38%, I will say.
Especially because this is a landmark decision for their industry. I've also seen some griping and snipping on social media.
Okay. Understood.
My whole thing is, if you're griping and snipping, vote.
Well, yeah.
This contract could have been overturned if enough people said, no way, man.
But that's true of anything. We're talking about the discord within the movie and the arts and things that you grew up with. Grew up with the same thing with the voting. Voting is important, people.
Yeah, but I believe it's a put your money where your mouth is kind of thing. If you don't like it, speak up. If you like it, speak up.
Highlights would be, what do we say, the few highlights you want to hit on?
I was really happy to see that the streaming side of things is getting a bump, specifically 7% streaming.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Also, speaking of AI protections, consent, my favorite word with this.
Oh, wow, that is very good.
It's really big because they talk about if there's any, quote, recognizable feature from an actor, they have to give them notice, and the actor has to sign a release. So they can't do this without doing that.
That's great. It's not like, oh, we've sent it over to you. Oh, by the way, we're doing that. It's not that. It's we're doing that and you have to agree to that.
Also, residuals. I'm happy to see residuals are starting to become a really big component in these negotiations. Without residuals, a lot of actors and actresses can't make their ends meet. Heck,
that's what I was reading.
Even some of the main players in Hollywood have talked about, if I don't get residuals, I don't get health insurance.
And I was reading a lot about the residuals. I'm so glad. Oh, this is good. All right.
Happy news.
I was going to say there's a strike dance for that, right? And there's a sign for that.
Yay.
I bet the box has some questions. Do we have any questions from the box?
Now that the strike is over, do you think we're going to see a large film release so that the studios can start making some money? I mean, there's several movies that were supposed to be out last month and the month before that all got kicked. And some of them we still don't even have dates. So do you think it's just going to be like a flood of movies in January, February, March? Or do you think they're going to still spread them out farther?
The temptation would be say, yes, we're going to have an onslaught of movies. We can't keep up. We'll be tempted to tape more than 4 shows a week. The real answer that I'm going to give is not one that most people are going to want to hear. Hollywood accounting is a thing, and that means you have to check with your accountant to see how much money you think you're going to make, and it becomes a game that people play again. I think there might be a little bit more movie releases coming soon that were kind of held off, but talk to your accountant first. Might save you some tax trouble.
You mean we're going to be taping 5 or 6 shows a week now?
If I had the energy, I would.
Wow. I bet there's some fluffy Hollywood news.
There is indeed some fluffy Hollywood news.
Ooh, tell us the fluffy Hollywood news.
Do you remember Coyote versus ACME? The film that I talked about, the shelving.
Oh, not the sock puppety?
Nope. Other
Okay.
S word. Shelving.
And what became of this movie?
This movie is getting some eyes and ears. In fact, Paramount, one of the key players in this spotlight deal, goes, hey, we could give you a theatrical release.
And who are you hearing this from?
Anthony D'Alessandro, currently my favorite reporter on Deadline right now.
I would say he's your buddy. Yes.
He's very snarky. I love him. He's very snarky. He gets the facts and he communicates it in a way that's concise and easy for us and others to share with other people.
And this just dropped, what, yesterday?
A couple days ago, yeah.
Wow. All right. Tell us the highlights.
Well, the big highlight is that everybody's interested. This is the hot property in town.
Wow.
Warner Brothers is really cutting their losses with this one. I feel like if they don't release this theatrically, they're going to look so dumb.
At this point, well, and it's funny because when we first discussed it, I thought, well, yeah, maybe it's a thing. Kind of sounds fun. I'm excited about it.
Just to give you idea how crazy this is, this was supposed to be released on the same day as Barbie.
Whoa. The $1 billion Barbie?
Yep.
Wow.
Instead, we got League of Super Pets.
Oh, we did not review that one. If you love that movie, we're so happy to hear that. Oh my, that's okay. That I did not know. That's just crazy. to
No,
me.
can you imagine? There's a world.
I cannot imagine this.
It's Coyote versus Oppenheimer at this point.
Wow, what would you call that? Koheimer?
Box office bomb. I mean, you have two bombs. You know?
That's that's bad. That is so wrong on so many levels. And I love Barbie and Oppenheimer too.
Well, what if you had a triple feature, triple threat, if you will?
Oh my, I don't think I would have done it.
I would have, but I'm crazy, so let's go with that.
I know exactly. Little crickets in the background after that one. Insert crickets here. Do we have any questions from the box?
With things like Spectacular Spider-Man being shelved and this movie being shelved, is it worth fighting the battle to get these things off the shelf?
I believe, as someone who values the existence of physical media, that things like Spectacular Spider-Man being pulled from streaming services, shows like Willow being pulled from streaming services, even one of Max's own series that received critical acclaim, Infinity Train, being pulled from their streaming service. This makes this more visible when something like this is created and then just tried to be relegated to the dustbin of history. It's sad.
Yes.
But I appreciate the fact that these filmmakers are not giving up. I appreciate that these studios outside of Warner Brothers are going, yeah, you say you lost 70 million. We're here to help you with that. And by giving it a new audience. So I think this is worth it. I think this could send a huge message to the studios that their projects are valuable to people outside of themselves.
It sounds like that's one of the reasons why this is so important. Because of that, it sets the precedent. It gives people an out, if you will. It almost feels, I am laughing. I know it's not a legal case, but it almost feels like a legal landmark case of this is what we are going to do and this is how we will provide an opportunity for future films.
It's interesting to see the conversation change. I know a lot of people don't usually pay attention when Netflix does this, but Netflix taking things off 9 times out of 10 is usually because they don't have the rights to stream it anymore. Not, we're going to get rid of it. It's never going to see the light of day again. This is a very modern development in the world of streaming. If anything, the rush for a 4K copy of Oppenheimer, number one, tells the studios that people want physical media. The response to Coyote versus ACME should tell the studios that there is a space for art to exist outside of the money-making thought behind it.
I agree, and it is a cautionary tale at this point, because I know we were talking about one of my favorite shows, The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, yeah.
And that was
such a good
taken,
show.
and my understanding, too, is even if people have recorded, sometimes they just disappear. It's not even as if, it's not on their platform. It's just not on your
I was talking with a friend after we saw the Trolls movie
Sure.
together, and they told me about this Trolls show that existed in the 90s, and they can't find it anywhere online. They feel like they have the rarest copy of this because it was only released once, and even then, that was a very limited release.
I'm laughing. I'm like, I love the Trolls movie. Where's that? Who is that person? Where is it at? Thanks for joining us this week. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Next week, we are excited to be reviewing The Shift, and on our Movies and More weekly show, the new movie, Wonka.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this show, you might check out last week where we reviewed The Boy and the Heron, or click the other link to watch our review of Godzilla -1.
Remember, cinema community movies are better together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.